If you can take analytical data from AI, but combine it with your own personal story, no matter what happens with AI in the future, AI cannot replicate the lifetime of experiences.
I've heard multiple AI experts say this too. The people that will be able to master AI and make it the most effective, make the most money with it, are the ones that know how to prompt it.
Welcome to Sandbox After Dark.
While the industry sleeps, we build.
Sandbox After Dark podcast.
After Dark.
We're grateful that you joined us today. My name's Rob Souza.
I'm Brian Wayne from the Sandbox.
And we're jumping into helping you figure out how to leverage all of the best tools. And I'm talking about AI tools, all of the best tools, and then all of the last 25 years of learning, research, and perfection of what we've been developing as marketers and me and my family in the financial industry, and be able to consolidate it down into some easy takeaways for financial professionals to be able to take what you learn each week in the Sandbox Live. And if you join the Sandbox Live, have access to all of these tools for free and be able to use all the prompts that we've,
Just in the last 30 days, there's been dozens of updates and things that we're developing and ways to produce this marketing material and different video scripts that are a complete picture of everything you do professionally, but also has a story that builds trust and makes a connection with your audience and ultimately gets them to be appointments on your calendar.
And most importantly, is that financial advisors have the frustration of feeling like they have to learn how to be as good of a marketer as they are a salesman and a financial advisor. The whole purpose of the Sandbox is to help you eliminate that problem, where we will help you do the research on best practices for marketing and allow you to join the Sandbox and access all of the research we've done, best practices, best software, so that you can either just take what we've research developed and handed to you, or you can choose to piggyback onto one of our pre-existing developed documentary sales funnels. Either way, so whether you want DIY, do it yourself, or completely done for you, it's already developed. It already has proven results, and you can just simply piggyback on a territory that we have already tested and perfected. So last week, what was the overview, Brian, of the instructions we gave or challenge we gave to have people jump into the Sandbox? And maybe I can screen share too, that we also gave them really specific instructions last week. So let's see if I can do this.
And by the way, if you want to join the Sandbox, you can go to wealthvids.com/sandbox. And the challenge that we threw out was trying to gather all the resource materials, not only your financial data and the system and the product that you're packaging together. That's important. But we also want to combine that with the story elements, the origin story,
yes,
the pain points of your audience, specific audience niche with their specific problem, and then telling a story about the solution that you've created, which is your product.
So let's overview this. Okay, so we're talking about, and we've got multiple screens up here, but you can see here in this screen, origin story. This is exactly what you're talking about. Target market, identifying third-party validation.
Now, what is third-party validation? Why is that important?
Well, so each element came from your recipe or formula of creating a compelling, either a workshop presentation, webinar presentation, or a documentary film. Doesn't matter. The point is that when you make an effective speaking engagement where you're going to present a case for who you serve to solve that audience's problem with your specific solution, but put it in a story arc so it's more memorable, impressionable, and influences them.
So you're really validating the problem. Like when you see a traditional documentary, there's this problem, and you go story after story after story about the problem that all these people have, which should be your audience. If you're talking to veterans or stay-at-home moms, what is the problem that they have financially, emotionally, all these problems, and how does your solution fix those problems?
Correct.
That's what you mean by validation.
Yes, and the importance of making sure that you include all of these elements into communicating the message of your sales pitch in a way that creates an impression and is memorable and influences them to want to take action. Can you walk through these 7 source files? Which, by the way, rolling it back a little bit, we've been using a new software tool. Go back and watch last week's episode, Notebook LM, where we can have you upload these 7 essential elements plus your 3 deeply researched AI prompts to develop a presentation, whether you do it in a workshop, webinar, or documentary. But you need these 7 pieces of information extracted out of the brain of the actual financial professional in order for you to apply your prompts to create the central story arc, to create the most memorable, influential sales presentation. So can you walk us through these 7 elements that we need that you can upload to the software we promoted last week or talked about last week? And that's a free account of Notebook LM. So walk us through these 7 elements.
Well, this is what I was getting into when we were talking about the validation. It's kind of, you got to validate the whole thing. We're telling a story about the problem, your target market, your origin story, meaning you could go all the way back to the beginning. How did you even become a financial professional? The particular solution that you're pitching, that's your unique solution. How did you develop that? The origin story behind that as well.
And I think more than how you developed it, I think more importantly, what's that personal story that inspired you to care about this particular audience or care about their particular problem and want to go on a journey of developing a specific solution?
Yes. And that's important because that journey that you're talking about also connects you with your target audience because they're experiencing the same thing too. Or hopefully they are, because that's why you want to attract those people.
Exactly.
You know, Garth had a great story where it's, now I understand why he's in the niche that he's in, because I was able to gather his story and it suddenly made sense. And now I think we both have a better understanding on how to guide a story like that into an effective presentation that hits all these points, that you're speaking to your target audience, you're telling them your story, then you get to explain your solution with all the facts and data, but now there's an emotional connection tied to it, and you're not just spewing numbers.
Absolutely. And I think a great origin story that I can think of is when I read the book from the CEO of Starbucks. And he talked about his inspiration for Starbucks. He traveled to Italy with his wife, and they walked from their hotel to
a coffee shop.
Well, the coffee shop was on the way
to somewhere,
to wherever it was that they were. Hiccups. And they noticed that the culture in Italy, that whether they stopped to buy a coffee shop or not, it was the coffee baristas, which are similar to our bartenders that knew the people that were
they see them every day. They know their order.
Hey,
yeah.
Brian, do you want your typical regular daily coffee?
Or they have it for you before you even get there.
Right.
Because they already know you're coming.
And so it's like, here you go.
And so he wanted to bring that to the States.
And not the coffee. He wanted
experience.
He wanted to bring the experience. Mm-hmm. And I read the book multiple times, but that's the story that hooked and has been most memorable to me was him explaining that story of him and his wife walking down the street. And it was on their third day that all of a sudden, after only 3 days of walking past the same coffee shop, that the barista had memorized their name, first name, and their orders. And how did that make them feel, and why they wanted to bring that experience here to the US? Because let's face it, Starbucks is not the best coffee.
It's whether you like the coffee or not, but knowing that story now, it makes sense when you see how fast Starbucks grew.
Right.
Because they weren't just selling coffee, they were selling that experience. And then when you understand that experience, now you have a connection.
And their origin story is what literally
that vision
and laid the foundation of the book. This is what their inspiration was. This is why they cared so much about wanting to bring this to America, and why they were so inspired, motivated to duplicate that experience across the US.
So how does that translate to a financial professional?
Same thing. If you're going to be a financial expert, and we've been talking about how AI potentially is going to take away jobs from America, right? And you and I have been saying that if you lean in and partner with the AI and be able to, like we always say, input controls the output. If you can take analytical data from AI, but combine it with your own personal story, no matter what happens with AI in the future, AI cannot replicate the lifetime of experiences, DNA, memory, trauma, emotional inspiration I don't think there's a single human in all of America that is there's no exact copy. Yeah. Everybody is uniquely different. And when you bring your uniqueness and combine it with the intelligence of AI, but that's the mistake that people are making is they're just doing data.
They think AI is some magic box that just will automatically give you whatever you're thinking in your head. But it's only as smart as the input that you put in. So if you don't like, and we'll go through some examples here. I took the data that was in these notebook LMs and it spit out a script, but it was okay. And then you just continue prompting it, saying, give me more characters. I need more fictional characters in this story. And move the story forward with a some more drama, and then it gave me another version, and then it was good, and then I just prompted it again, and after 3 prompts, it was pretty good.
Or replication of existing stories. So
yes,
if you're a financial professional and you don't feel like you have clients or customer experiences that you can share as personal stories, you can always share a third-party story or a third-party documentary that tells the same exact story.
Yeah, just like we've all seen these movies that say names and information have been changed to protect the identity of the whatever. So you can you can change the name, you can create a fictional character, or you can take a combination of multiple stories and just say, take these 3 stories, combine it into one, make it sound like it's coming from this other fictional interview.
Right.
And that's what the beauty of AI. It knows the information, and all it's doing is restructuring that information multiple different ways. And you can manipulate it in any direction you want. And you'll still, because of Notebook LM, all the factual data is there. The data won't change, the truth won't change, but it's just like you can tell a story a million different ways and it's still true.
Right.
Right.
And most importantly is what we're trying to communicate to you is that your uniqueness, your experience, what inspired you, what motivates you, why this target audience, why this particular problem inspired you to solve, and what is your inspirational, unique solution? How did you develop it? That's all of the prompting that we put into, well, you developed prompts to extract that data, but we do need those.
We need the data.
We need this.
It only works if the factual data is there.
We need to dissect your brain.
Yeah.
You have to go join the Sandbox. You've got to give us these 7 source files. And I would rather you barf it all on a page and just give it to us in raw form than give us too little. Mm-hmm. More detail, the better. I use it as turn on a recorder. Use it like a therapist.
Yeah.
I don't care if you spend an hour trying to, or you can even communicate your story.
I do this all the time. I'll have a conversation with ChatGPT or Gemini, and I'll just say, hey, here, and I'll record text to speech. This is what I'm thinking. Here's my idea. And I'll just spew out a whole bunch of stuff. And I'll say, does that make sense? And then it'll structure it and I'll go, yeah, it makes perfect sense. And it formats it. And then I read it. I go, okay, they're close. And then I give it triggers new ideas in my head so I can continue talking.
You give it advice.
That's why it's called Chat GPT. You're supposed to chat with it.
It's a chat.
It's a chat bot. But it's a super smart chat bot.
Don't accept the results. If you're not arguing with an AI to get it to output an exact 99% accurate replica of what you're trying to communicate, keep chatting, keep arguing until you get what you want.
And then you can take that long chat conversation that you have about yourself and your origin story or whatever it is you're discussing, save that as a document. You can copy and paste it, put it in Notebook LM, and now you have your complete origin story combined with all of your factual data and numbers and tax codes and all that stuff. And now it will all make sense and you can tell a story about it.
Okay, so there's the 7 document sources that we want in Notebook LM. Why is it so important to use those sources done correctly with Notebook LM? But then there's that next step of properly prompting it into a compelling speech for a workshop, webinar, or documentary. Why is Notebook LM the place that we have, at least currently, because things can change with AI, it changes every week, but why has that been the most effective way of combining all of what you've learned with all of what they've experienced, and we can combine them together and use a single prompt to generate a presentation?
Because Notebook LM is confined to the sources that you give it. It's not going out on the internet and social media and gathering half truthful stuff. It's using your story, the things that you upload in it. It's only going to pull from that, and you can dissect that data any way you want. A Notebook LM is a research tool. It's a learning tool. If you want to learn about a topic, you can have it upload a bunch of resources, and then you can just dissect all those resources and cut them up any way you want. That's for learning about a topic. Now, if you already know the topic, now you just need to format it into a presentation or a story. You're giving it all the research and the data that you need about that topic that you know to be true. And then we're prompting it into, give me a story arc.
But most importantly, because everybody has access to AI. So how how does Notebook LM make sure that the result?
Because it's going to be personalized, because it's only you. It's not financial advisors in general. It's you. It's Rob Sousa. It's Garth Hassel. It's those. So it's your story combined with your data, combined with your solution for your audience. And if you want to speak to a particular audience, this is the best way I know how that I've discovered.
So with all of your and I's experience combined, could we create as an authentic, memorable, impressionable story of Garth Hassel without any input from Garth Hassel?
No, it would just be some random advisor.
Yeah, it would be
telling a similar story, but it wouldn't have the backstory. It wouldn't have the case studies. It wouldn't have, the struggles and all those epiphanies that Garth had to develop the solution that he had for his audience in particular, because no one else has been through that.
Because nobody else, no matter what happens with AI can never replicate a lifetime of experiences like we described before. It cannot encapsulate that. Yeah. That's why these 7 pieces are so important to extract from the financial professionals.
Yeah, and I think that's the message that we've been talking about and harping on for the last 3 or 4 weeks is anyone can spew numbers. Anyone can sell what you're selling.
Yeah. Because
they all have access to the same data, the same instruments, the same products, but they can't sell it in the way that you can sell it. And the audience that you want to reach, they're not going to be able to reach that audience because they haven't lived what you've lived. And through all of our conversations, I think we're trying to get the point across that if you want your audience to connect with you, and that's how they connect with you, is through stories.
Yeah, know, and trust.
Because they can say, this person gets me.
Yeah. Absolutely, for sure.
And then what you've done is you've just knocked down all of their objections, and they all become irrelevant because they think it makes sense. This person gets me. I'm just going to book a call.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. So what we're going to do, we're going to jump to a break. We're going to come back. We're going to show you some examples and give you kind of the pros and cons of some of the sources. We threw out a challenge last week for people to join the Sandbox, provide us. There were 7 essential source files, and then we applied our primary AI prompting and then generated a preliminary script, which we're going to show you some briefs. It's a Notebook LM brief as a version 1 of all that we've described over the last 2 weeks. And it gives us kind of a, hey, are we on the right track? Does this encompass the story, the story arc, all 7 elements plus the prompts? And are we on the right track to telling a good, compelling story? That we will present after the break.
Some financial professionals wake up to calendars full of appointments, while others are just failing. Most financial professionals are incredible at helping clients, but their marketing doesn't bring consistent appointments. The Sandbox teaches financial professionals how to build a modern marketing system online. You'll learn how to clarify your message, build a high-converting funnel, and create a video that introduces prospects to your philosophy. When it's done right, qualified appointments start showing up on your calendar. Join the Sandbox at wealthvids.com/sandbox.
All right. Well, I believe we gave a pretty comprehensive overview of what the takeaway from today is, but let's show some real life examples so that you guys can see what we're talking about when you do apply the 7 important, unique sources from any individual financial professional, and then apply all of our deep data research to turn it into a professional sales script. We're gonna jump to the combination of our content creator Sheila, who's creating this process for a client named Rob with a hybrid retirement niche market. So let's go ahead and let's play his video brief.
You know the drill, right? Work for 40 years, then start living. But what if that whole model is broken? Let's talk about a different way. A way to buy your life back now, not in a decade. So many successful people win the money game, but they end up losing the time game. Sound familiar? And that's the tension, right? This feeling that your best years are slipping away while you just wait. Honestly, that whole save until you're 65 plan, it's from a totally different era. It just doesn't fit anymore. The old way was all about chasing net worth. The new way, it's about cash flow and flexibility. And here's the crucial part. You might already have all the assets you need to do this. It's not about needing some massive new number. It's about a smarter structure for what you already have. Okay, so how's it work? First, we identify a core asset, something like a high cash value life insurance policy. Instead of withdrawing from it, you take a loan against it at a lower rate. That difference? That's your income. This gives you liquidity, your principal keeps compounding, your nest egg stays intact, and you reclaim your time. This strategy helped one client get her Fridays back without even touching her principal. A 3-day weekend? See, this is so much more than just a financial shift. It's a whole new belief system. You can actually accelerate your freedom by repositioning your assets, not just endlessly saving more. The real product isn't the portfolio. It's buying back your most valuable asset, your life. You already have the assets, so the only question left is, are you ready to use them?
Okay.
Notebook LM, creating a brief. So Brian, going off the 7 essential source documents, how did this?
I think it explained the solution really well. I liked that it had a reference to a past client. One thing I want to mention that maybe we didn't cover well enough is that when you create the brief, there is a prompt box, just like anything else, and you can prompt it for the information. So if you don't like the brief that it gives you, if like in this instance, it was missing some of the backstory for Rob and how he developed this and why he developed this, you could say in the prompt, when you're giving your brief, make sure to include the origin story of how the advisor came up with the solution.
Which in this particular case.
And if it's in that source material, it will pull it and it will add it to the story.
Which in this particular case, I know Rob and I know his backstory. And when he started his business, he took a risk and took like 4-day trips to festivals and music festivals, and like skiing are his like obsession with his family. And he made a strategic decision, even when he couldn't afford it. He made a strategic decision that these family memories, while his kids were under 18, were more important to him than the time that he would spend at work making money. And that's what started his inspiration of like.
And was that document in his notebook LM?
No.
Okay, so
and I want images, and I want to see them on the ski slopes. I want to see them at a music festival. I want to see their family pictures.
So that backstory would be very important to include and would be compelling to the audience, because because now we know who Rob's audience is, because he's speaking to people that are just like him. Mm-hmm. And Seth Godin has a great quote. He's a marketing genius.
Love Seth.
He says, you want your audience, or when you're talking to an audience or you're trying to build this community, he says, people like us do things this way. Yeah. And so that's the connection you want to make with your audience. Like, this is the way I do things. If you do things like this too, we might be a good fit, and I can help you get the things that you want, because I've already figured it out. And without that backstory, who are you talking to? This is anyone in the whole country that's like, yeah, that sounds good. 3-day weekend. Why not? Yeah. But what's the reason behind it?
No, but
And how do you build a financial future while trimming down your work days?
yes. And
That's an important part of the story.
This was impactful to me because when he first presented this idea to me, I identified because I have 2 daughters, and both my daughters went 100% all in on gymnastics to a point where they had to go homeschool because they didn't have enough time to train.
Tons of travel time.
And the travel time was insane. My wife and I strategically, despite all of the history of financial advising in our family, we spent probably more money than most people do on college and weddings, just helping them execute their pursuit of gymnastics, which got them onto national teams and traveling around the world. And we have a keychain that has 200 key cards from different hotels that we've stayed at, traveling and promoting, like helping support their pursuit of their dreams. But most importantly, forget the gymnastics, forget their whatever they accomplished. It was the
memories.
It was the memories. The memories I spent with my daughters.
You're buying memories.
Was priceless. That's why I relate to Rob's.
You're his audience.
I am his audience.
His target audience.
And I was
it's compelling.
Yes.
So if you're trying to create a compelling story, a pitch for whatever it is you're selling, it's a critical component.
Absolutely. So now, just to push through the hour, let's take a look at another example. This is from a content creator, Judy, who partnered with Garth about the subject matter of which I would say 80% of America faces, is being catapulted into caregiving,
Being forced to be a caregiver. Yeah.
Whether you expected it or not, prepared or not, you're catapulted, whether it's your husband's in a car accident, your child's born with a certain challenge.
Elderly parents.
Right. And
everyone's going to face it.
So this is his niche, and it will identify with a different audience, but let's take a look at his video brief.
You're at the top of your game, the one everyone counts on. Yeah, this is for you. You've built this incredible independent life, but something's creeping up that you might not even see. It's not the stock market. It's something much closer to home. A paradox, really. And of course you think, my family will be there. It's what we all believe, right? But then, no one steps up. It's called the lemming effect, and suddenly you're the one in charge. And that comes with a hidden cost. It's not what you spend, it's the income you stop earning.
For so many women, this becomes a career-ending move. And your financial plan, it totally misses this. This number? That's the 6-figure hit, a silent penalty and lost income that nobody talks about.
It has a name, altruistic insolvency, when caring for them literally costs you everything.
So yeah, the cost isn't just money, it's your identity, your career, your tank just runs empty.
Our guide, Garth Hassel, he saw this happen firsthand, in his own family.
He realized the spreadsheets just don't account for real life, for the human element of it all.
Look, a better stock portfolio isn't going to solve this. Hope is not a strategy here.
What you need is totally different. It's a structure built like a fortress around your independence.
Here's how it works. We fortify your income, neutralize the risk, and get the whole family on one page.
The whole idea is to shift your role. You stop being the nurse and become the architect.
See, the goal isn't just about providing the care.
It's about protecting you, the person doing the caring, so you don't disappear.
A proper plan means they get professional support, and you just get to be their daughter again.
You've spent a lifetime protecting everyone else. Isn't it time to build a safety net for yourself?
Don't wait for things to fall apart. You need to be the architect, not the victim.
Let's build that structure together, one that protects the amazing person behind all that care.
From Notebook LM, and this is the power of the tool, and it's free, and we're not even an affiliate yet, which we probably should be for Notebook LM, although it's a free channel. So you don't get, it's a free service.
Yeah, through Google. If you have a Google account,
Google,
you have access to Notebook LM.
And I'm telling you, whatever project it is that you're doing in your life, for instance, my wife created a notebook called Favorite Recipes.
Mm-hmm.
And then she can consolidate all her recipes into a single notebook. And it's not about reaching out to all of AI with recipes that are being suggested to everybody.
Yeah, it's just your top 20 favorites.
Well, and also she's able to put in source files that say what her favorite types of food and recipes are.
Mm-hmm.
She's an Italian. She loves Italian recipes. And so when she can put a source file in about what her preferences are, then AI can personalize. And that's the issue I have with AI. If you don't personalize your prompting, you're just going to get the generic same results that thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of other people are going to get. And you'll lose track of who you are and your personal preferences. That's what I'm convinced it's not Notebook, but AI in general cannot replicate.
No.
So I liked, this is a complete and total pivot from the last example that we watched, and addresses a different target audience and a different problem and solution. But again, and I don't know if the source file for the origin story wasn't strong enough in this particular story, but I didn't get to hear the story I think the advisor.
I think that's just going to come down to the prompting, because if you don't put in a prompt and you say, just give me a brief on whatever the method is, the sovereign matriarch, well, it's only going to pull from that data.
Yeah.
If you have other sources, you need to say, pull from all sources.
Yeah.
Tell me about the sovereign matriarch. Yeah. Tell me about how Garth invented this. Tell me about how he developed it and how his wife had this issue.
What were his struggles?
And then ask it, how does this solution address all those issues that the problem that the people with the problem have?
So again,
you gotta argue, like you say, you gotta argue with. It's not a magic box. You're not going to get it on a one-shot click.
Mm-hmm.
You have to prompt it, listen to it. If you agree with it, or if you know that there's more information that you want to extract, ask it to extract that information, and then tell it how you want it delivered. You could say, I want this to be a conversation between two people. Give it to me that way.
Yes.
Or you could say, tell me everything that's wrong with this story.
Yeah.
What's missing in this story? And it'll tell you that. And then you can add more sources, or you can prompt it differently. And I've heard multiple AI experts say this too. The people that will be able to master AI and make it the most effective, make the most money with it, are the ones that know how to prompt it.
Correct.
It's 100% prompting. It's not a magic box. It can't read your mind. But you need to be super, super specific. So when we get into the section where we're going to show some of the tools that I created, the prompts are this long. It's a 1.5 page long text file prompt that's asking for multiple different things, and it's only going to give it to you because you asked for it.
Correct. So the takeaway from today is that Notebook LM will allow you to run a summary, an explainer, a critique of the input you've put in. And if you don't agree with it, you need to reprompt, you need to reiterate, clarify, argue with until you get the summary that you'd like before you start developing any sort of sales presentation. Let's transition to looking at our final example for today, and that's a content creator, Carla, who partnered with David Harris based on his inspiration of moving from a traditional retirement planner to realizing that he needed to consider offering alternative investments to solve problems that traditional financial advising can't solve. So let's go ahead and take a look at this next brief.
All right, let's get into it.
You've built real wealth, but that very success, it actually creates a new kind of risk. Suddenly, those big wins bring huge, complex problems. Problems your old financial playbook just can't solve.
And we're not talking about rookie mistakes here. We're talking about smart people whose finances have outgrown their original setup. Yeah, things like concentrated stock or big capital gains. These aren't just numbers. They're real pressure points.
So, the very blueprint that got you here, it might actually be broken now. Let's see how. For years, we were all told a 60-40 portfolio was the gold standard for diversification, right?
Well, the CFA Institute is saying that old math just doesn't work anymore. That feeling of safety, it's an illusion.
Okay, so what about the S&P 500? You think that's diversified, right? But is it really?
Turns out, the IMF is warning that just a handful of giant stocks are driving the whole thing. Talk about hidden risk.
Meanwhile, the game has totally changed. Private markets raised over $2 trillion. Just think about that.
That means a massive slice of the economy is happening in a space most traditional portfolios can't even touch.
So, how do you sort through all this? How do you find the real opportunities and avoid the hype? This is where a real guide's journey comes in. Let me introduce you to David Harris. He built a framework firsthand.
Yeah, this wasn't learned in a classroom. His story starts at age 13 and was forged in the chaos of the dot-com bubble.
And the big lesson wasn't the 6-buy return. It was this. Discipline, not hype, is what actually saves you. That principle is the core of his framework. It's a process that starts by diagnosing the real problem, not just chasing a product.
So how does it actually work in practice? Let's break down the framework with a real-life story.
Picture this. An investor hits it big with options trading, but now they're facing a massive tax bill.
Now, the framework didn't just grab a common solution. It actually rejected ideas that didn't fit the family's specific needs.
The right tool for this job? A qualified opportunity zone fund. It solved the tax, timing, and diversification problems all at once.
And this is the key difference, right? It's not just chasing access. It's about building a solid wealth architecture. So the client goes from a portfolio that just kind of happened to one that's built with real intention.
And that's the real transformation. It's about taking back control and knowing exactly what your capital is doing.
So that leaves one final thought. Is your portfolio just a reflection of your past, or is it truly built for your future?
Ooh, I like that. I like that last line.
Yeah.
Is it built for the past or is it built for the future?
The nice thing that I like about Notebook LM is it gives you kind of a inspirational starting point.
Yeah, it's feedback.
It is feedback.
You need to know if you're on the right track, and
Right.
this instantly will tell you where the gaps are,
Yeah.
and if it's going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And again, how do you get it to go in the right direction? Is you need to the right source material, the right information, regardless of where you get it, and you need to prompt it correctly. And if
Yeah.
it's not giving you what you want, just prompt it differently.
Yeah, and
It's not a magic box.
And I've seen the source files on these 3 particular samples, and the summary videos are missing a lot of the origin story.
Mhm.
But I think that comes down to not so much that the source file wasn't there as that the prompt to create the explainer or the video
Yeah.
brief
You need to
wasn't
extract
proper.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there, and depending on what you're asking it, it's going to give you just an overview of the data, or you need to ask more of like, how did this get invented? Who invented it? Why should I care?
Right.
And it'll rewrite that story for you and put it in the explainer.
Perfect. So if our producer, Marie, if you can paste into the chat the most recent prompt example, prompt to create a video brief or explainer, we'll go ahead and post that in the chat, but make sure that you personalize that prompt so that it also emphasizes the origin story, because that's the most important piece that individualizes your presentation, your speech, your performance that you're going to give anywhere.
Yeah.
Whether you're
There
even
it is on screen.
There it is. Yeah. So that's the, but please personalize this prompt. Don't just copy paste. You need to personalize
Well, you can't
it.
copy and paste it because it doesn't even have all the, because there's holes in it.
Yes.
If you could bring that up again, Marie. See, we're asking it to write a 30-minute entertaining, persuasive video about, in brackets, whatever your solution is.
Right.
You know, whatever the topic of the video is.
But put in the topic.
Yeah, and
put in that solution.
And then using the source material about your name, the advisor name, he is the guide, and include mock interviews, testimonials, and various other supporting characters, and add interviews with other fictional characters to help support the story and move it forward.
And the only thing I would add to this prompt would just be make sure that you include the origin story that tells the viewer why it is that this particular professional chose this audience and chose this specific problem to solve, and the journey that they took to solve that problem.
Yes. And this prompt was probably the third prompt that I did, because I realized, I listened to it back, oh, it's not giving me what I want. I need more story. I need more characters. So it's not just a talking head spewing information at you. I wanted to hear it from another person and another person, just like when you watch a Dateline, they do interviews, but it's the interviewee that is telling the story. It's not the host. He's just asking the questions, and all these other people are telling the story.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes a good documentary, which what we'll talk about later and we'll get into next week.
Right. So after the break, we're going to come back and we're going to show you a longer version, what we call an explainer or overview video. So it's a little bit longer, but it's the next step. After running a brief that you can confirm is accurate, then you want to kind of expand it out to an overview of an entire documentary. And once it's confirmed that, yes, we're on the right track and this is the direction we want to go, then it's worth taking the time, spending the money, and investing into developing a presentation, regardless of whether it's AI or webinar or workshop.
It could be an outline that you deliver live at a workshop, or we can format it to write an entire documentary script that's 20 minutes long with all these supporting characters.
So after the break, we will show you the best example that we have for this week.
In the Sandbox, financial professionals learn how to craft a powerful message and build a funnel that attracts qualified prospects and books real appointments. But when a funnel is truly dialed in, when the message is clear, and the system proves it converts, it enters the final cut, where top-performing funnels can be hosted on the WealthVids platform and licensed to financial professionals in other regions across the country. Only a few make it this far. So the question is, who has a message strong enough to make it to the final cut?
All right.
All right.
So now it's time, and I think what we're going to do is just transition into a full explainer video. Now, I think we chose the video that was a partnership between Garth and the content creator, Judy, and they went ahead
and this is more of like a 6-minute version explainer.
Yeah, so that's the next step. Once you get the brief correct and you're happy with it, you can move on to a 5-6 minute explainer. And in between that phase, we also suggested to our content creators and our advisors or professionals to possibly run a Notebook LM critique audio.
Yeah, that's helpful too. You can give it, there's a built-in one that's more of a negative, because AI is always saying, oh, that's a great idea. This goes the opposite way. And it will find all the things that are wrong with it. Right. And it will suggest, it's amazing. It suggests how to fix it.
Right. So after that process becomes the 5 to 6 minute explainer, we're going to wrap up showing this explainer, and then we're going to throw out next week's challenge. So let's go ahead and show that explainer video.
So let's talk. This one's for the woman who finds herself as the default. You know exactly who you are. You're the one everyone turns to when things break. You've built an absolutely incredible life, a career, a family. But there's a silent financial threat that traditional planning almost always misses. And this is a threat that targets you specifically. Let's uncover what it is, and more importantly, how to protect yourself.
Does this sound familiar? This feeling is really where our story begins.
It's the voice of so many women will call Alina, incredibly competent, at the very peak of their careers, but then suddenly just completely overwhelmed by a family health crisis. It's that chilling moment when you realize that all the skills that made you so successful in the boardroom, they don't seem to apply when the crisis is in your own living room.
And this is exactly why you've become the default. I mean, it's not a title you ever applied for, right? But it's the role you've earned through your sheer competence and your deep sense of responsibility. When a parent gets sick, when a loved one needs care, you're the one everyone just assumes will handle it all, the one who's not going to walk away.
Now, let's be really clear about something. This is not a personal failing. It is a systemic risk. It's actually a flaw in the family structure itself that puts this completely unsustainable burden on one person. And this risk, it has a name. Yeah, financial advisors, they call it structural exposure. It's such a cold, clinical term, isn't it? It basically treats you, the caregiver, like a building with a design flaw. It completely ignores the deeply, deeply human cost of this whole situation.
So you know what? Let's reframe this. Because while an advisor might see a flaw in a structure, what you actually experience is caregiver depletion. This is not just a problem with your portfolio. It's a total drain on everything you are: your energy, your time, your health, your finances, even your own identity. It is the feeling of being completely emptied out.
And this depletion, wow, it isn't just one thing. It's a crisis happening on multiple fronts at the same time. First up, you've got identity erosion, which is that slow creeping loss of yourself. Then there's the massive opportunity cost. We're talking about your career and your finances. And finally, the table points to something called the shadow patient, and that's you. That's the caregiver whose own health starts to fail under all that strain.
So you see, this isn't just an emotional drain. It is a mathematical certainty that most financial plans are completely blind to, and it leads to what we call the six-figure decision. Okay, get ready for this number: $304,051. Now, according to AARP and a ton of other sources, this is the average lifetime cost in lost wages, pension, and Social Security benefits for a woman who has to leave the workforce to be a family caregiver. Just let that number sink in. This is the sheer magnitude of the financial threat we're talking about here.
But here's the thing. This huge six-figure sum, it doesn't just vanish overnight. It's not one single catastrophic event. No, it's a slow, methodical bleed. It's a step-by-step dismantling of the financial independence you worked so hard to build.
And it happens in three pretty distinct steps. As you can see, it all starts with step 1. Your career takes a hit. Then step 2 kicks in. You start draining your own savings to pay for things out of pocket. And finally, in the most devastating part, step 3, you begin liquidating your long-term assets, selling off the very things that were meant to secure your own future, all to pay for the crisis happening right now.
And you know what makes this whole drain so dangerous? It's the false hopes that keep us from acting. We tell ourselves, oh, my siblings will help, but often this lemming effect takes over, where everyone just waits for someone else to act. And guess who that person is? It's you. We assume government programs or our parents' savings will be enough, but they rarely are. We think we have more time to figure it out, until, suddenly, we don't.
So if the problem is a faulty structure, the solution can't be just throwing another financial product at it. It has to be a completely different kind of plan. It has to be an integrated one.
This right here, this is the fundamental shift in thinking you have to make. The issue isn't that your stocks are bad, it's that your entire financial house is built without ever accounting for the seismic shock of a caregiving crisis. You don't need better assets, you need better architecture.
So what does this better structure look like? Think of it as a three-part safety net. First, and this is non-negotiable, a protected income stream specifically for you, the caregiver, one that can't be touched. Second, a dedicated long-term care strategy for your loved one so you're not liquidating your own retirement. And third, and this is so crucial, a coordinated family plan, so you can finally move from being the lone default to being the architect of a shared strategy.
And when you put this kind of integrated plan in place, the outcome is truly transformative. It's not just about protecting your money. It's about reclaiming your life, your relationships. It's what we call a return to self.
And this, right here, is the ultimate goal. Just listen to what Alina said after she put this approach into place. She didn't have to be the financial manager and the nurse and the administrator during her father's illness. She just got to be his daughter. That is the incredible gift a proper structure provides. It preserves the relationship.
I mean, look at this. It really shows the two realities. On the left, you've got the default, overwhelmed, draining her own assets, watching her relationships fray under all the stress. But on the right, you have the architect. She's in control, she's protecting her independence, and she's restoring the very reason she's doing all of this in the first place, that family connection.
Please remember this. In any caregiving situation, the most valuable and honestly, the most vulnerable asset is the caregiver herself. The entire plan has to be built around this one single principle. Protect the person behind the care.
And that really just leaves us with one final critical question. You spend so much of your energy caring for other people, making sure everyone else is protected. But who is doing that for you? Who is protecting your life, your future, your independence? If you are the default, then you are the one who has to act. It's time to stop being just the caregiver and to start being the architect of your own security. It really is time to build a structure that finally protects you as fiercely as you protect everyone you love.
Yeah, that was great. I think I like this one the most because this is the one that's had the biggest transformation in the last 6 or 8 months.
I agree.
I have struggled to understand what he was selling, what his solution was. This clearly outlines it, and now I get it.
Yeah.
So that's the importance of getting all this right, getting all this, not just spewing data. And this, as a marketer, I look at this, I go, this is something that I could sell. This is something I could promote, because before it was just a jumbled bunch of ideas that didn't connect.
It's very clear what the target market audience is, what the problem that they struggle with, and the solution that's been developed. Done very well. That's why we highlighted it today. But we need to move on. So we're going to go ahead and
let's take a quick break.
We'll come back with next week's challenge.
Most financial professionals know they should be marketing online, but very few know what actually works. That's why we built the Sandbox, a marketing system designed specifically for financial professionals. At the center is a cinematic documentary and persuasive sales video designed to educate prospects, build trust, and drive booked appointments. Inside the Sandbox, you'll also receive weekly mentoring and coaching to help you build your funnel step by step. And when it's complete, it can enter the final cut, where top funnels compete for nationwide licensing opportunities. Step into the Sandbox today.
Yes, I was just reading some of the comments. So what's the challenge for next week?
So now it's next step. If you can get past the brief to an explainer, and the explainer has combined all of the source information by dissecting the brain of the financial professional or any business owner, and then they can confirm, and you as a marketer can confirm, okay, the story has been effectively communicated. Now it's time to generate an actual script based off of your pages and pages of multiple prompts to architect this into a personal story or pitch. And really it is a documentary style. Let's take you through a storyline.
I mean, what we're building is basically a sales presentation disguised as a documentary.
Yes.
And that's important because you do want it to sell. The whole point is to sell it and get appointments on your calendar, but to connect with the audience that draws them in, where it's intent-based selling now. You're not just cold selling. You've warmed them up. They're in your ecosystem, and it's just a matter of time now before you nurture them and you get them on your calendar.
Because the presentation explainer video we just watched, if
that was good enough to put on YouTube.
If I just watched that alone and I was that target audience with that problem, I'd be interested. And that's not even the presentation. That's just a summary.
The only thing it was missing was go here to book an appointment. It just needed a call to action at the end, and it would have been good.
And Notebook LM is absolutely free, and it could have produced this in a matter of 10 minutes. So we're super, super excited about the new technology with your individualized story and source material, combined with all the marketing expertise of how to turn it into a compelling story that will persuade people to take action. That's the next step. That's next week's challenge. Get it to this point, and now we can generate an effective script that can generate a 20 to 30 minute documentary that will communicate all of the components of what we've explained today into a compelling documentary video. Or you can present it as an actual
or a workshop or a webinar.
Right.
The presentation is up to you. We chose to do it as a documentary style, but it's a presentation. You need all this to sell anything.
So jump into the Sandbox, wealthvids.com/sandbox, and use all the resources we put there, including your source files, your story, plus our marketing prompts. Generate a brief. Then once the brief is where you want it to be, it'll be an explainer, which often can be used as a standalone.
Yeah.
For free. And then if you want to take that next step and turn it into a compelling sales presentation, you can do it either as a slide deck presentation or an actual developed documentary style video that can be posted online. And WealthVids, if it meets our standards, we'll publish it on WealthVids ourselves, and we'll put some advertising dollars behind it because of the value it brings to the public to create financial awareness and solutions to people who need it.
Yep. So next week's challenge is we'll discuss how to take this and turn it into a script. Not a video, but a script.
An actual script.
That's ready for production. We want a production-ready script that the creators can just go out and make an awesome-looking video.
Because we don't want you to waste time and money developing a script that we have to come back and say, oh my gosh, no, you need to change all these things, and then you're going to pay for these extra credits, labor, and
get it right the first time.
Yes, get it right the first time, save money and time. So that's the goal for this next week. We hope that you will take up the challenge, join us in the Sandbox. If you need some specific help, you can always schedule a 15-minute strategy call at 15 minutes. Wait, schedule 15minutes.com. I think that's it. If not, maybe Marie can post it in the chat. Okay, all right. And schedule 15minutes.com, and I'll help give you the instructions you need. But all of the sources that we've used for everything we presented today is in wealthvids.com/sandbox. Join us in that collaborative community, and we will help you get to the point where you can create your own perfected sales presentation. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.